Hey,
Question.
yeah, flipping stuff.
If somebody is watching something on their computer and it's like, they're in incognito mode, can you still tell, have their history? Yeah, an adult.
Yeah, yes. E lei notava scende di questi loro che non allora, smando yes, that's We'll get started because we want to spend most of the time with you guys giving feedback. And so we're just gonna ask everybody, if you could just find a place, even if our board members, if you could just start just here. I know you're going to mingle around the room, but board members, if you could just start here in this part. And if everyone else could take a seat, if anywhere you like to in the circle, because this is your time to give the board and administration feedback. What we heard is that you wanted to give feedback and the board is going to be going around listening to you, give feedback about transportation. And so we wanted to give you this opportunity to do so. So welcome to the Transportation and Community Engagement Evening. We thank you for being here today. We wanted to give you an overview first. I'm Dr. Lena Zachary Ross, Superintendent of Schools. This is our board president, Dr. Celeste Hawkins. She's going to start off just so we can ground us in what's going to happen today. I have a few slides just to, again, for those of you who weren't here at the last, where it was an actual board workshop, because board workshops are a lot different than the community engagement session. So Dr. Hawkins is going to give an overview of what that looks like. I'll give you some grounding pieces so that you can know what's going to happen today. And then we'll get into the part that you came for, the engagement sessions. And we might reconfigure a little bit as people trickle in, because we knew a lot of people would come. And so that you could know how it kind of rotates, because we want to spend, again, most of the time with you talking, you engaging with each other, and the board listening to the feedback. We even have a thought exchange where you're going to get your phones out and kind of engaging so we can see it on the board and we can see what you are saying. We're even going to have a thought exchange for people who aren't here today, so that they'll have an opportunity to give the feedback as well. So it's not just ending tonight. We're going to keep getting that feedback from other people, because it's going to be important that we continue to hear from others about how we can get the most effective and efficient transportation system. So Dr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Dr. Zachary Ross. Good evening, everyone. We are so glad that you all are here with us this evening. This community conversation is about you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your feedback. And I have a few words that I just want to read to keep me focused, to keep us grounded, and to keep us centered as we kick off the evening. So as elected officials, we know that it's very important to set up a process which engages the public. The distinction between this evening session is that trustees are in attendance to listen to community members. We are not meeting as a body to deliberate, to make any decisions like we do during our regular and special board meetings. This is the key difference in our board meeting structure and the community conversation being hosted this evening. The district has advertised this community meeting in a variety of ways to promote participation. The charrette style process tonight we are using is for a community conversation. And we've used this process in the past. In 2019, we had a similar transportation forum just like this when we bought our new buses and when we wanted to hear from the community about concerns related to transportation. As board members, we are also stakeholders in this community. It is our intention this evening to hear from other important stakeholders, which is why we are so grateful that you are here this evening. We want to just let you know we share your frustrations and deeply apologize that our transportation service has not fully achieved, which we know has been a challenge for our parents and our community. what we all have hoped. We don't make any excuses, but instead we are focused on making adjustments. Student safety and on-time bus services are priorities for us. We understand how important reliable and consistent transportation is, and we appreciate your patience as we work on solutions to improve this service. These are some of the general concerns that have been brought to us about transportation. Daily shortage of bus drivers, inadequate number of substitute bus drivers, late pickups and drop-offs, and the routing of our buses. We know that this list is not the entire comprehensive list of the concerns that have been brought to the Board of Education, but I wanted to share some general concerns that have come to us, and these are some of the things that we've heard. The intention of this community conversation this evening is to engage your voices and to consider your feedback on the busing options that will help inform our decision. We want to capture what things are most important, and as a district, our priority is to deliver students safely to their destinations and on time, provide professional and courteous customer service and efficient transportation that meets the needs of the students, families, and all YCS stakeholders. The community conversation is to hear your voices. The trustees, as I mentioned earlier, are in attendance to listen only. The board will be walking around to listen, but they will not join or be part of the small group discussions. Dr. Zachary Ross and her administrators will facilitate the discussions, and they will take notes in small groups. At this time, without further ado, I will turn this back over to Dr. Zachary Ross, who will go over the purpose, the objectives, and the intended outcomes of tonight's community conversation. Thank you again for being here, everyone, and we hope that you have enjoyable time sharing your feedback and engaging in dialogue with us as we make these important decisions as we prepare for our upcoming academic year. Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you, Dr. Hopkins. Again, we just appreciate this opportunity to just get you involved. So we want to make sure everybody gets the outcomes. Okay, so we want to make sure that you understand some of the possible recommendations and the options. So we have Director Aaron Rose here to make sure that you have that. If you didn't get a chance to grab one of the notes and the option sheet, you raise your hand. Somebody from the administration will make sure you have one of those. And we see some hands up, so someone will grab them. You're going to utilize the thought exchange. For those of you who are here, we want to make sure that you go through that process so that you can help your neighbors and friends. Because once we send that out, we want to encourage everyone to engage in it. Because we know everyone could come tonight. We didn't want it to just be the people in this room. We know oftentimes we have just a few people come to the school board meetings, and just like in 2019, there was a lot of people in the room, but we couldn't get everyone's voices. We're going to send out the thought exchange after this meeting. There's going to be another link and say, okay, let's get it out to as many people as we can, because we want to hear from other people. And it's not a survey. It is truly a thought exchange. So you can comment on other people's thoughts. You can rate their thoughts. You can comment on their thoughts, and you can see the results. So you're going to be able to say, because somebody was like, can we see the feedback? Can we see it? I'll show you the results of those of you in the room, but you'll be able to see. It's not going to be like a secret. You can see what other people are saying and how they rated it. You'll see it in a word cloud. So it's very transparent. So you'll be able to see what other people are saying and how they're rating it. And so I want you to experience it today so that when you tell others or your children's classmates or your neighbors, you'll be able to see what's going on from that. And then again, Then we'll do that first so we can get the surveys back to you before you leave out. And then that's when we're gonna go into these, the small groups will rotate. The small groups will be about 8 minutes. I know it sounds short. We have a short time today, but the 8 minutes is long, so we sit and talk in the small groups. And so you see these options, we'll talk about what they are. So you'll be kind of moving. So you're in this, on this side, you'll talk about option A. Then you're gonna go, in the middle here is option B. So you'll stay focused and talk about option B. And then here, how do you feel about if you're a driver? Is it gonna be okay if we use outside sub drivers and that be your coworkers or not? Or if you're a parent, is that gonna be okay? Or do we just gotta stay inside? We wanna know, the board and administration, how do you feel about that? You might be like, oh no, that's not okay. Or you might say, look, we short, I need that, let's do whatever it takes. And we want honest feedback. Because if everybody's not cool with it, then it's not okay. But if you are okay with it, then it's okay. We're talking about transportation today. That's our goal. This is our outcome. So we are staying focused, just like your lesson. When Ms. Folky talks about the lesson, we stay focused on Ms. Folky's lesson. And today's outcome is what's on this board right now. So here's our agenda. Our agenda for today, we've done our welcome. We're gonna talk about our norms. We're gonna talk about our working agreement, our possible solution and options. Then we're gonna move on to our thought exchange. We're gonna have our get the voices and feedback. We'll give you a little bit about how the decision making gonna happen, because you want to know what's gonna happen, how long it's gonna take, because it's gonna take some time, guys. And then with that timeline for our successful implementation. So when you get to your groups, just a reminder, I know you see this a lot when you come, but this is how it happens. When you get to your groups, don't forget to ask questions, because you're with probably some people you don't know in your group. So don't forget to pause, to paraphrase, pose questions, ask good questions. Ask the questions when you're in your group, please ask. Ask what kind of data you might need. What kind of data might we need to make decisions? Because we're going to write down your questions there. Put ideas on the table. Pay attention to yourself and others, because other people need to put ideas on the table as well and presume positive intentions, because we want to get questions asked. Also, our working agreements, we're all teachers and learners here. It doesn't matter if you're the normal driver or you're the normal monitor or you're the administrator or whomever, that we're all working together. Speak from your own personal experiences. Don't just talk about the neighbors, talk about what you know about. Seek to understand, listen to learn versus listening to respond. Challenging the idea and not the person. Practice the both and thinking. Take the learning and leave the stories. Don't go and talk about the other person, especially of us who work at YCS. You gotta still come back to work tomorrow. Embrace multiple perspectives. Be present and take care of yourself. And then please don't freeze people in time, including yourself. So remember, everyone, that the model prior to the pandemic was the shuttle model. So that's why we got to go and do something different. That's all I wanted to remind us of. We've got to do something different. That's why these options are here on the table, because we can't go back to the shuttle service. We don't have enough folks, and we changed this because of the pandemic. Remember, the health department made us change the service. So we don't have enough buses, we don't have enough drivers, we don't have enough people on staff to go back to a shuttle service. So let's think about, we got to do something different next year. So we got to make this change together. So Aaron's going to talk about what types of models that you have on your paper right now for the options that you're going to give us feedback about.
Good evening, everyone. Where we're at right now, we're running a two-tier system. And so in our two-tier system, the first tier, which is roughly 7:30 in the morning, requires 28 drivers. second tier 27, and then third tier, which in this, at this point has one school on it, and that's WISE, requires eight drivers. So based on the number of drivers that we have currently, the number of drivers that we continue to seek, we do not fit into that model. We just don't have the drivers. So here's our route demands, and on the other side is our supply of drivers. So we haven't been able to make those balanced yet. Moving on to what we have as options to discuss today are three-tier systems. What we do is we distribute the routes over 3 tiers more evenly, so that you distribute that demand. And as you notice, the demands come down quite a bit. In option A, you have 23 drivers or 23 routes for tier 1, 18 for tier 2, and 23 for tier 3. Based on our current staffing, if we retain our drivers moving into the fall, we have the staff to successfully employ that model. Moving on to option B that will be presented today. Okay. You can link links to tier data. And that
It's
should
on
be
that sheet
data.
of paper, that's what I said.
And on your piece of paper, it's the same demands, just distributed differently. So it'll be 23 for tier 1, 23 for tier 2, these two flip flop, and 18 for tier 3. On the piece of paper, it spells that out, and it should have the number of routes that each of those tiers require. So we'll discuss those options further in the small groups to get your feedback on moving from a tier 2 system to a tier 3 system. Any questions that I can answer now? Just to clarify, clarifying questions. And on that piece of paper that you have, the tiers are laid out in approximate times, 7:30, 8:30, and 9:30. And then it has the schools listed that we propose for each of those tiers. Any questions that I can answer at this point so that you can engage in the small group? Yes, sir.
Just so self-drivers, it's just an outside company, that's the only.
We're going to talk more about that option so that you'll have the information to engage.
I'm sorry to jump into the meeting that's already started for all of you, but I wanted to make sure I introduce or allow the board members so that when you see them walking around, you'll know who they are. They all have on name tags. Trustee Townsend, can you wave your hand, please? Trustee Goodrich. Trustee Schindler. Vice President Lee. And we have 2 Board of Education members who are not joining us tonight, but one of them, Trustee Fields, I believe, is joining us on Zoom. Miss anybody?
And before we go into our groups, we'll make sure we talk about one of the sub option type things. We're going to start with the thought exchange, because I want us to go into, once you have the opportunity to start with the thought exchange to get you started right away with giving us some feedback, because you heard from us already. So you have your cell phones, you take that out and start with scanning for the options that you heard already. So you get your cell phone out and then you take it, you just pull it up like a camera. And it'll go into thought exchange and you will scan it and it'll say get started. And it'll ask you to get started and say next. And then it asks you to accept. And when it goes into options, and then if administrators who are here, you can stand. If you can go walk around, if you can help and assist those who might need assistance. And it'll ask you to accept, and it is for option A and option B is the options that are on your paper with those times. In those schools. Mr. Rose, can you help talk about those schools? And then you'll start sharing your thoughts. Yeah, there. So it is showing and just start writing your thoughts. What do you like? What don't you like? You should be putting in ideas right now. Wanna make sure you're putting in that idea. Have the actual study on it and get the results, we're doing it first. Put it in, live so they can see the result. So that they can tell their friends like, oh, I thought I did it. Were you able to rate some of the, were you able to rate some? Were you able to rate some of the options? Because we just want to make sure you get to see it working, because we want to start going into groups now. Were they able to rate some? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Please pause and look this way. We're going to start going into our groups now. If you look this way, we're going to ask you, because we have such a small group, we're going to make sure that we get you into groups so that you can be able to talk amongst each other. So we're going to, let's see, we have just about 2 in this group. Would you mind joining this group here? You have, or this one or this one, it doesn't. Yeah. Please pause. So we have a group A, a group B, and group C. So group A, you're focusing and you have extra paper. There are 2 administrators here, perfect. So you're gonna focus all your conversation, your 8 minutes. Julie, you have timer. Your 8 minutes are going to be all on option A. You're gonna focus. You can talk about it. You can scrutinize it. So what you like, what you don't like, questions you might have. Focus only on option A. Great. And you're gonna, when the timer rings, you're gonna move over to option B. Okay. Group A, you got it? Option B. You are going to focus, scrutinize, ask questions, really engage, even if you don't like option B, whatever it is, but you're going to focus, talk about, scrutinize, what you like, don't like, all of that about option B. And then for you, and again, you have your own notes about what your thoughts are, but really press us on option B. Questions, thoughts, because board members are all going to be coming around just to hear what your thoughts are, concerns are, what you like, don't like, all of those things about option B. And then when you're done, you're going to go over here regarding sub-drivers. Sub-drivers, here it is, and we're going to ask Sue to talk about what we mean by sub-drivers, but what you're gonna do, again, press on, push on, and if you're a current transportation person, you're thinking about, would I wanna work with outside providers? She's gonna talk about what we mean by provider. Could they be my coworker? Do I want to have an outside provider option? If I'm a parent, could I have a sub driver? I know we have extra staff we've used fast temps. Would that be okay with me, or would that not be okay with me? Because sometimes we get canceled routes, so is that okay with me or not? What are the benefits? What are not the benefits? And what do we mean by that from the Department of HR?
So with the there's two contractors that we're considering. And what they're gonna do is come in and supplement, so if you call in and we don't have a driver, hopefully you're gonna do it in advance. We're gonna call and we're gonna do a placement like we do with extra staff, so it's gonna say, DeAndre's out. And here's a sub driver from either Mets or Divergent. We have two companies that we're exploring. They're not gonna replace you, they're gonna sub for you when you're absent, and other drivers that are currently in our union aren't available to sub. So if it's like at the same time you're driving, Miss Landis, you obviously can't sub. So that sub would come in and sub for that other run. Does that make sense?
Well, you write it on the paper. It's not, you gotta write it, but you gotta write it on this paper. And then we're gonna split and rotate. So we're gonna rotate, and then we'll rotate, guys. We'll have to rotate.
Yeah.
And then we'll just have to have we'll just do one of them. All right, so we ready to go? And board members are gonna be rotating around. Okay, let's go.
Thank you. I know, Robin. Yes. That's perfect.
that thought, if you can finish that thought and prepare to make a move. If you can finish that thought and prepare to make a move.
One of these homes is gonna have to, because we have a.
If you can finish that thought,
Should we move? Do you think we should move the piece or?
finish your thought. I think you guys are gonna come. All right. If this group can come move here.
Do you think you need to call Jennifer?
Here it
Or
comes.
reset?
Julie, where's this group? Okay. If this group A will move here. And this group A will move to this middle. You guys are here. And this group is. Thank you. And if you will, if you will share your notes from the previous group. If you will share your notes from the previous group. And then, so you can let them see the notes. We'll share the meeting with them after they start generating thoughts. We'll share that group. And we're gonna start the 8 minutes in a second. And then you got that. And then they will be automatically make the next whatever from their homes. Like right now, you have here, you have X group and you have Y. Yeah. So you have here, you don't have kids.
So that makes sense, like, yeah, so. So that's why I'm like, I'm bought it back for
Okay.
So this group, if Dr. Lopez's group, you're gonna go right here. Okay, and this group. And this group is going to be. And this group is going here. And Ms. Mitchell's group is going to the other end. Right. Okay. No, you're right. No. Thank you. You're coming your way. Action name, right? You're coming. You have too much name. Where you go? He's going to bring the other bees over to the, they can bring the other bees. And I'm sure. No, that is
I was gonna ask you, what does it look?
All right. All right, I'm getting knocked on the microphone because we waiting on the time. I'm sorry. So we know that these are, I got into this conversation because I got my drivers and lunches are telling me to real. The way to talk in, the way to I appreciate it. And so we've got all the options. Did everybody get to all three? Thank you. So before we get to this, can we get to go back to the one we need? University. Go back, yes. Okay. So thank you all for the feedback. We also said, please pause.
So you need God a lot.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Please pause. Please pause. Thank you for allowing us to hear your feedback. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, everyone. Thank you, Nina. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming back together. It's time for us to come back together, all the groups. You gave us feedback not only in your groups, but you gave us feedback in thought exchange. And we're going to show you what thought exchange does, because remember we said we're going to send it out on, through our email, we're gonna send it out, Ms. Davis is going to send it out also through our social media networks. And I want you to see the kind of feedback that comes to us, because oftentimes just surveys go out and you say, I can't really get anything from that, or what are you gonna do with it? Or does it really mean anything? Thought exchange is a little bit different. So you get to see the results in thought exchange. You get to, we're gonna share it later tomorrow. Please ask others. And this is some examples of what happened. These are the word cloud that came out from those of you in this room. And you see some of the things that came out when you actually type in words. So ask people, because I know you did it kind of quickly. And some of you, I know phones weren't charged, you weren't ready. I know y'all weren't ready, but now that you know about it, you can tell people to do it, they can do it on the computer. You can be a little bit more ready and prepared. And so some things that we heard was behaviors were some issues, the root cause, we want some solutions. So these were the words that came up in the words that you guys put in.
Can I give a little feedback on how to make thought exchange work a little better?
Yes,
When there's a choice, like the first question, which was choose A or B, you didn't give us an option to say, I don't want to make a choice, but I want to see the rest of the question.
we only chose. So that,
Several of us got confused to answer the first question, and therefore we didn't even get to see the rest.
so thought exchange are who are the experts who wrote it, may have you force the choice. So they're the experts, they're the ones who wrote it, so they wanted you to force choice. So you either gonna choose A or B, choose A or B. So they make you force choose.
You had a third choice, but unfortunately it meant not take part in the rest of the survey.
Correct. You're gonna choose A or B, because the board has to make a decision of A or B.
No, they don't. They choose two tier. And
We're in two tier and it's not successful, so we don't want to continue to not be successful.
three tier isn't successful either. Let's find out how that two tier works.
This works was very successful during the pandemic.
Yes, we used to have. Gotta have drivers to drive.
And these are your drivers telling you this. These are the ones who are on them. This is what we heard from the drivers. Okay, so please select the transportation model. We got 9 and 9. Obviously, when we get more folks in it, we'll see the percentage. So you still have the surveys. Then they talk about the behavior issues, and here are some things that just came up. But again, this is quick because everybody didn't participate. But I just want you to see what some of the things that came up. Here's what they were doing when you rate it. So when we get the ratings that come up, when you got to rate what other people said, here's some things. You said, like, so what are the root, what is, somebody asked, what is the root cause of limited bus drivers? These are practical solutions, but also what are the root causes of the lack of drivers? Behavior issues on the buses, low pay, let's address those. So people start that. Or it's a great option for everyone involved, from the staff to the families. It's important to get all students to school on time. It will also help save the spots for staff already on board. So people rated that as a 3.6. Actually, 2 is better for operations. It has worked better in the past. So you see, people are able to rate not what Alina said or the board said, but you can rate what other people say. That's the difference between a thought exchange and a survey. It's not what I say or the board says, it's what anybody in the community writes. People can rate what people say, and then the board administration can see what people like or don't like about what they say. And we'll be able to look at all of it, and you'll see they can rate all the different stars. You can get a whole bunch of 1 stars too. So it's not just rating what the top stars, but the low stars.
Is this gonna be put out for people to vote?
Yes, so you'll be able to see it. We can post it, you can get the results. So we can all be able to see, not just like, oh, we got some surveys back, because usually we get surveys back, but it doesn't, you don't really know what you're looking at, it like, okay, what does that mean? So the fact that we're gonna send out the thought exchange and be able to give you the feedback, you'll be able to know what we meant by we got the feedback. So I want you to see this today, like experience it. I know it's a little bit frustrating at first, but I also really wanted to take some time and stop you in enough time so that you can see what we meant by using the thought exchange, so you can encourage other transportation staff, encourage parents, encourage staff members, to community members to use it so that you can actually see it's not just giving you the results, but really we get to see what people said and how others rate what they said. So this, so the thought exchange is going to go out, and we really want people to use it, because this part, which is gonna take what you wrote here, great feedback, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out to do, give us this input. Board members have heard, and I know Dr. Hopkins or board members will give some closing remarks, and this is super helpful. Can you go back to decisions are gonna have to be made. Decisions can't be made lightly. I've been talking to Director Butler over there, our financial director of finance, and he's looking at costs. Because we talked about, you've been hearing us talk about, well, there's different companies, there's cost structures. Because no, we are not trying to. I know there's rumor, oh, if we get certain companies, they're gonna replace. That's not the, we talk about subs, like as used to have, like these other companies, not to replace. Please be real clear. As a sub, what would that look like in comparison to having some additional drivers that could be there to take over some routes? That's a whole different thing. So what would that cost structure look like? That's what Director Butler is looking at, cost structures in contract, because there's some blank contracts that we looked at. That's why you have heard that misconstruction, because they've given us some blank contracts where they could replace drivers. That's not what we're trying to do, to be real clear. Is that the question you had?
No, I was gonna ask, have y'all ever thought about getting another router?
We have had that posted. If you look on the thing, it's been posted, what, all year.
It was close. Last
Last year too, girl. Thank you. Shame now, thank you. It's been posted, it has been posted, really. And we have had though, let me tell you a positive, we have had, as of today even, another expert router to check the routes.
Yeah, you know, like, yeah, make sure they're correct.
Yes, and so even today, somebody said side by side, looking at summer school routes and looking at what we should do with our current route structure. So that has happened. Because we know we've got to do better. Another thing I did not mention, I should have, and I've been with this tier 3 piece, it provides an opportunity for drivers to have more time driving, because it allows us to bring field trips back in-house, because we've been having to use outside folks, and that puts more money, more time into our own drivers. It also brings our athletics to our own drivers so they can have more time, and it puts it back, because that's what we want to do. The board has said that we want to honor our drivers, give our drivers that option. You might say, I don't want it. That's fine too, but give it to our drivers. But you can't be on the road there, and I mean, you know, it just, because it's not structured right. And that's what the 3-tier allows for you to have that option. So that's what we want to do. Also, thirdly, what I didn't mention was that also means that we need to find options for, if we go this way, if that's the decision with the staffing, it means the decision has to be made, because we have to find some before care options. We have to. We used to have Champion. champions. We used to have, I know, but we've already been asking about some backpacks and other places. And one things I've been really wanting to do is if we have some before school tutoring or some kind of way that we can do some enrichment, academic type enrichment, even if it's through like we do at Grizzly Learning Camp, through fun learning, not the same school type, but some kind of extended academic type enrichment pieces. So we understand that if we go with one of these models that puts extended time with that puts parents, especially that early learning center out there, that we've got to find some kind of way to make an opportunity for parents. So we understand that.
I wanna say about you know, we have a lot of different ethnic groups. And we sometimes we can't understand them and they can understand us about getting name tags. Like maybe when some of the older kids, like maybe if they don't want them on their bag, like the preschoolers, they could have it in their bag. Like with their name and their address and their number, because a lot of them get on the bus and we can't understand them. You know, they don't understand English and we be there for hours trying to figure out where they stay, what is they saying. And maybe they can keep the name tag in their bag if they're embarrassed to keep it on their bag.
I got somebody just took that note. Thank
You
you.
know,
Or you can give every bus a booklet with everybody.
Some kind of translation type. Thank you. Because that's a practical thing we need to do. So that timeline does put us, because we gotta manage expectations, everyone. So it's for real already, which I cannot believe, May 30th. And so that takes us, if we're gonna do it right, it takes us to like a late June to mid-July to really make a real solid plan. Like we can make a decision and it's still not right. And like you said, to include the voices of the folks that are a part of it. So not for Grizzly, we know we gotta do something for Grizzly Learning. That's not Grizzly Learning Camp, but that gets us to be able to start Grizzly Learning Camp and get going, because we know we start the week after school's out. School's out June 12th, we start Grizzly Learning Camp the very next week. So to really make a real plan, and I know we gotta let parents know, I get it, but like our real timeline to get kids out of school, to get Grizzly Learning Camp going. Carlos, I need you. Okay. I need you. I need to make sure I know we have some of you working Grizzly Learning Camp. We need to make sure we rolling. We are rolling. We need those routes right. And we need your voice in this plan. We do. If we don't have the right people on the net transportation action team, we need y'all. We need you on everybody's team, on everybody's. If you're not on there, you're supposed to be telling somebody. We need to know. Don't wait till now. We need to tell you now. We need you on all the teams. Like we did during the pandemic, on them teams. We don't want to change. We didn't start it and then not want you on it. We want you to stay on the team, stay engaged.
I was just saying, I think a lot of people probably this year with just the hours and the money.
Okay. So we're gonna figure it, we gotta just figure it out together.
Is there an option to still do the 3-tier, but with like a different configuration than these two options?
Cool.
Yeah, like somebody has suggested, you know, like maybe like 4 baby homes, since they're all on that side of the city. That way families who have kids in multiple grades will be on the same schedule versus you have somebody at 4 going at 9:30 and then you have somebody at home going at 7:30.
We're gonna take all of this, that is why we're meeting, because there's nothing done. That norm of putting ideas on the table, we're gonna take all of this and take it back. And we're gonna take it and follow up. That is really why we did this, because we believe part of the norm, we really joke because we live out these norms. We put the ideas on the table, we say, don't jump on the table with your idea because it's gonna get messed with here. And so we're messing with the ideas because it's not set in stone. So yes. All of it, we're gonna take it, cause it's probably, now that we put the idea out there, we can mess with it. And we're gonna tell somebody, let's look at it, and it's probably something here that it can be better with. And that's why we had people look at the route again today and say, okay, what else can we look at? Oh, it's here.
Well, I appreciate you listening to transportation today.
We, no, thank God. Stand up in the air, stand up in the air. Put it on in my soul. Be on. Board members.
I just want to echo what Dr. Zachary Ross said. We thank you. It's Tuesday, it's the day after
Thank you.
Memorial Day.
Memorial
Thank
Day.
you all for being here and for being engaged, for giving us your thoughts, your feedback. We can't do any of this without any of you. We simply can't. So that thanks is heartfelt. I know for me, I know the rest of the board would agree with me. This has been tough this entire year. We are not making any excuses. We have to make adjustments. That is the bottom line. We have to make adjustments because our kids are why we are all in this room right now. The kids in this district need to be in school on time. The kids in this district need to get their education. The kids in this district are counting on the adults to get this figured out for the upcoming school year. So thank you for all you do, all that you've done. Thank you for sticking with us. It has not been easy, but we appreciate you, we value you, and we appreciate the fact that you have been honest, open, and transparent about what's not working and what we need to do better. And we will do better. Thank you, everyone. Board members.
Thank you.